how to build a change project communication strategy that actually works. Most change projects fail, not because the new software is bad or the new process is broken, but because the people involved simply have no idea what is going on. You can have the most brilliant strategy in the world, but if your team feels left in the dark, they will resist you every step of the way. Communication is the bridge between a great idea and a successful reality. Without a solid plan for how you talk to your people, your project is basically a ship lost at sea without a radio. In this video, we are going to break down exactly how to build a communication strategy for your change project that keeps everyone aligned and excited. Here is what we have on the agenda today. First, we will look at the foundation of why a strategy matters and how it affects the psychology of your team. Then, we will walk through the 4 essential steps of the process. We will start by identifying your specific audiences because you can't talk to everyone the same way. Next, we will learn how to define your key messages so they actually resonate. After that, we will pick the right communication channels and figure out the perfect timing so you don't overwhelm people. Finally, we will talk about setting up feedback loops and assigning clear roles to make sure the work gets done. By the end of this video, you will have a complete roadmap to handle any organizational change with confidence. Why a communication strategy is your secret weapon. Think about the last time something changed at your job without anyone telling you why. Maybe a tool you use every day suddenly looked different, or a teammate was moved to a new department without a word. How did that feel? Usually, it feels frustrating. It creates a sense of uncertainty. When people don't have information, they don't just sit in silence. They fill the gaps with rumors, guesses, and often fear. This is where the psychological impact of communication comes in. A good communication strategy isn't just about sending emails, it's about building trust. When you are transparent about why a change is happening, you reduce the natural resistance that humans feel toward the unknown. You are basically giving them a flashlight in a dark room. Once they can see the furniture, they aren't afraid of tripping anymore. This alignment is what drives adoption. If people understand the goal, they are much more likely to help you reach it. If they don't, they will drag their feet and your project will stall. Step 1. Know who you are talking to. One of the biggest mistakes project managers make is treating the company as one single person. They send one mass email to 500 people and wonder why half of them are confused and the other half are angry. You have to move beyond the idea of everyone. You need to segment your audience. Think of it like a map. You have your executives, your middle managers, your frontline staff, and maybe even external partners or customers. Each of these groups sees the project through a different lens. For example, let's say you are implementing a new digital filing system. Your CEO doesn't need to know which buttons to click to upload a PDF. They want to know the return on investment and how this will save the company money over the next 3 years. However, your office administrator needs to know exactly how their daily routine is going to change. If you send the technical manual to the CEO, they will ignore it. If you send the financial projections to the administrator, they will still be worried about how to do their job on Monday morning. You have to analyze what each group cares about and what their specific concerns are before you type a single word. Step 2. Crafting messages that stick. Once you know who you are talking to, you need to figure out what to say. This is where you define your key messages. You need to be able to explain the essence of the project in a way that makes sense. This usually involves 3 parts: the problem you are solving, the solution you are bringing in, and what the future looks like once you are finished. The most important part of any message is the what's in it for me factor, often called WIIFM. People are naturally self-interested during times of change. They want to know if their job is safe, if their work will get harder, or if they are getting a raise. If your message only focuses on how great the company will be, you lose them. You have to translate the corporate goals into personal benefits. Instead of saying, "We are increasing efficiency by 20%, try saying, "This new tool will automate the boring parts of your job so you can leave on time on Fridays." Your standards for these messages should be high. They need to be clear, concise, and most importantly, consistent. If the project manager says one thing and the department head says another, trust disappears instantly. Every piece of communication should reinforce the same core vision, even if the tone changes slightly for different groups. Step 3. Picking the right channels. You could have the best message in the world, But if you put it on a poster in a break room that nobody visits, it doesn't exist. You need a multi-channel strategy. This means reaching people where they already are. Don't try to force people to use a new app just to read updates about a different new app. Formal channels like company-wide emails, town hall meetings, and the official intranet are great for big announcements. They provide a source of truth that people can refer back to, but don't underestimate informal or social channels. Sometimes a quick update in a team Slack channel or a 5-minute chat over coffee is more effective than a long memo. People often feel more comfortable asking real questions in small groups. The key is to choose channels that your specific audience actually trusts. If your field technicians never check their email but they always check their text messages, then you should probably be sending them texts. If your leadership team lives in their calendars, schedule a brief meeting. Meet people where they live. Step 4. Getting the timing right. Timing is everything in change management. If you announce a change too early without any details, people get anxious. If you announce it too late, they feel blindsided. You have to find a strategic cadence. This is the rhythm of your communication. You want to avoid information overload, where people stop reading because you send too much, but you also want to avoid radio silence, which is where the rumors start. A good way to handle this is to align your communication with project milestones. When a big phase is finished, tell people. When a new phase is starting, tell them what to expect. Think of it as a life cycle. In the beginning, you are building awareness. You don't need to give every detail yet. You just need to let them know something is coming. As you get closer to the launch, you provide more training and specific instructions. After the launch, you focus on reinforcement, sharing success stories and reminding people why the change was a good idea. This just-in-time approach ensures people get the information exactly when they need to act on it, not 3 weeks before they can actually do anything with it. Step 5. Making it a two-way street. Communication is not a monologue, it is a dialogue. If you are just broadcasting information down from the top, you are going to run into problems. You need to establish feedback mechanisms. This is how you find out if people are actually understanding the message, or if they are secretly planning a mutiny. There are plenty of tools for this. You can use anonymous surveys, Q&A sessions at the end of meetings, or even a simple suggestion box. The most important part of feedback is what you do with it. If people tell you they are confused about a specific part of the new process and you ignore them, they will stop giving you feedback. But if you address their concerns in the next update, you show them that you are listening. This makes them feel like they are part of the process rather than just victims of it. When people feel heard, their resistance to change drops significantly. Step 6. Who does the work? The last step is assigning roles and responsibilities. A plan is just a piece of paper until someone is held accountable for it. You need to decide who is responsible for writing the updates, who is responsible for hitting the send button, and who is responsible for monitoring the feedback channels. You also need to identify your messengers. Sometimes the project manager is the right person to speak, but often the message carries more weight if it comes from a change champion. These are people within the teams who are well-liked and influential. If a respected peer says the new system is a good idea, the rest of the team is much more likely to believe them than if a consultant says it. Make sure your leadership team is also involved. If the CEO never mentions the project, employees will assume it isn't actually a priority. The big challenge: what happens when things go wrong? Let's talk about a real-world scenario. Imagine a mid-sized shipping company called FastTrack. They decided to change their entire warehouse tracking system. They had a plan, they had the software, and they told the managers, but they forgot one key audience: the night shift drivers. Because the drivers weren't included in the initial communication, they didn't know the new system required them to log in via a mobile app before they started their routes. On the first night of the rollout, half the drivers couldn't get into the building, and the other half were manually writing things down on paper. Chaos broke out. The drivers were angry because they felt ignored, and the project managers were frustrated because the data was a mess. This is the climax moment of many change projects. It's the point where things could either fall apart completely or be saved by a quick shift in strategy. FastTrack saved the project by immediately setting up a feedback loop. They didn't just send an angry email, they sent the project manager to the warehouse at 2 a.m. with boxes of donuts to talk to the drivers. They listened to the frustrations, realized the app had a bug in the login screen, and fixed it within 24 hours. That act of listening and responding changed the drivers from resistors to partners. Summary and final thoughts. Building a communication strategy might feel like a lot of extra work, but it is the insurance policy for your project. To recap, you need to start by knowing exactly who your audiences are and what they care about. You have to craft messages that answer the "what's in it for me"'s question. You need to pick the channels your team actually uses and time your messages so you don't overwhelm or ignore anyone. Most importantly, you have to listen. Create a two-way street where feedback is welcomed and acted upon. Finally, make sure everyone knows their role in the communication chain. When you treat communication as a core part of your project, rather than an afterthought, you don't just finish the project, you actually succeed in changing the organization for the better. It's about people, not just processes. Keep this roadmap in mind and you will find that even the most difficult changes become much smoother for everyone involved. For more deep dives into managing change and leading your team through transitions, subscribe to Mychangemanagement.